Do short movies here on how to do some advanced retouching. Just I want to give you guys an idea of how some strategies you can use to accomplish some kind of interesting things. Like here's one of my students was working on. See my mouse over here? This chair that's up against this wall. She wanted to remove that chair from the wall. Now, the way most people would start doing that is they take the rubber stamp tool and they just start stamping like crazy. And they'd try to stamp wall over the top of that. And it would work kind of until you got down here in the bottom where you have this molding and this floor and this other chair here that's overlapping that chair. I mean, how are you going to retouch up into that and with this circular brush and use that with the rubber stamp in a way that just looks decent? It's going to be impossible. So there's a method of cover up that you can do that's really realistic. It's kind of using what you already have available to cover up what you need to cover up. So here's what I'm talking about. First thing I need to do is I need to erase that chair back there in the background. I need to wipe it out. Just need to get that out of my way. So I need to get it selected. But the way I select this chair, I'm actually going to select around this front chair because I need to define a nice edge around the back of that front chair. So without taking too much time, because this movie could get kind of long and kind of big, I'm going to quickly just kind of make a selection around this seat back and work my way around the top of it. I'm not trying to be too perfect. I'm going to do a pretty good job of it. Okay, so I get around that side. I'm going to come down the back of the chair, down to just about the bottom of that shadow where you see that shadow cutting out. It's going to be enough. Make sure I get inside that shadow. And now once I get to here, I'm going to make sure that's sitting just on the edge. I'm going to go ahead and come out to the outside with it and go up and come on around this chair, making sure I'm just capturing the whole thing. I'm not even trying to get close to the edge on this. I'm just coming around it. A little curve here. Okay, so I've made a nice little work path. Open up my paths palette. There's my work path. I'm going to command click it. Okay, I'm done with that. So it's flashing. And I don't need this anymore. I am going to go ahead and delete it. Okay. Now before I delete it, let's pay attention and make sure we delete. I want to delete to white. I could delete to any color I want to, but this is easier for me to see. Okay, so now we've got this issue. We've got this chair gone. Now we've got to somehow fill up this wall with wall. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take my lasso tool, my polygonal lasso tool, second one on the list, and I'm going to come over here close to this wall and select a chunk of this wall to use to cover over this. So watch how this is going to go. I'm going to start down here. I'm going to grab some floor. See that? I'm going to come on up high enough to get enough wall that I need to cover it. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to come back down. I've selected a chunk there. It's on the background layer. Now that I have it selected, I'm going to float that selection, Command J, and that lifted that piece of wall up onto a new layer by itself. Okay, now take that. You kind of see where we're going with this, can't you? I'll move this over here, line it up as good as I can. Got a little bit of a problem on the bottom, so I'm going to have to cheat a little bit. So here's what we're going to do with that. I'm going to go to Edit, Transform, Scale, and I'm literally going to stretch this out just a little bit to where I can get that white of that chair covered up. I'm elongating the pixels a little bit on purpose. Need just a little bit more, knowing that I can get away with it probably because this area that I'm fixing is so small. Okay, so see the lines I was paying attention to? Kind of paying attention to the seam on the wall, the shadow on the bottom of that molding, and the top of the molding. We'll fix this back part in the same way here in a minute. Right now I'm just concerned with the front part. Okay, so we've got some issues. We've got some issues with a seam showing here. Got an issue with the chair in the background. But since this floated selection is on a layer by itself, I'm going to go ahead and lower the opacity of it so I can kind of see through it. And I'm doing that so I can see where my chair is. See this perimeter of the chair? On that layer, I'm going to add a layer mask. Switch to my brush. Make sure black is my color that I'm painting with. And using a hard edge brush, I'm going to go up here and adjust the hardness of this brush. I'm going to paint off what I don't want so my chair will show through. So I'm going to hide this part of the wall that I added. Not deleting it, I'm hiding it because I could mess up. I need to come back in there and fix it. I've got kind of some tight spots right there. Okay, so that's why I made that transparent, so I could kind of see through that, so I could kind of hide these parts. I'll go ahead and bump the opacity back up. Okay, so now we've just got a few other things to fix. We've got to fix the seam, right? That's really mainly all we have to fix. I am going to go check the channels real quick. I'm going to look at these channels. Let's switch this thing over to CMYK just to see if there's anything I can do to these channels. Here they are. I'm going to look and compare. Okay, so I'm going to make sure I'm on, check out the cyan channel. See the piece that I floated is a little darker? So just like we did on the grass in the helicopter, I'm going to open up my curves and get this gray, this cyan gray, just a little lighter. I can get it almost spot on. Okay, I'm going to check the magenta one. See, the magenta one's a little darker too because this piece of the wall has moved over a little bit. There's a little more light there. I'm going to pull curve down just a little bit to align, get those colors more the same, those values. I'll check yellow. Yellow is about the same. Black is the same. So I bet see how much better it looks now? I have less of a seam to deal with. Okay, now here's how you fix the seam. I'm done with these channels. I need to show you something called merging visible. Now if this file had 15 different layers in it, it would be more relevant than it is here. But if I want to be able to rubber stamp out this seam that's showing, or to heal it, use my healing brush to get rid of it, I've got to make sure both of these images are combined onto the same layer. Now just so I don't ruin my original, see what I did there? I made a copy of the background. Just in case you missed that, I took my background layer and I drug it down to this button next to that trash can and I made a copy of it. So that way if I mess this up, I still have my original one back there. I'm going to turn the eyeball off the original one. Okay? Don't want that included in what I'm getting ready to do. I'm going to go to Layer at the top of the screen. And I'm going to do a move called Merge Visible. And what that's going to do, it's going to combine the two layers together that have eyeballs showing on them that are visible. So I'm going to go to Layer, I'm going to do Merge Visible, and now I'm not going to flatten it. If I flattened the image, it would literally flatten all of the pixels together, all the layers together. So I'm going to just merge what's visible there. So now that piece of wall and that other part are combined. So now I can really make my move. I can go grab my healing brush. I can option click to the side here, click over right there. I'm going to switch this to a softer brush just because I don't run the risk of showing any circles. Okay, so option click, click. I can click out that seam. Look at that, the wall looks almost perfect. I can fix it on the top with the healing brush. Now when I get down here, I'm going to take half wall, half molding, and bring that over. Cover up that seam. I'm going to take, same way with the floor, half molding, bring it over. And I'm about as good as I can get with that one. Let's see if this is looking right. And you would have never known that that wall didn't come from the wall right beside it. Pay attention to what you're doing. We zoom out. We can use the same method to fix the wall back here and the floor back here. Just take some floor, move it up. Take some wall, move it up. You just make a selection, float it, bring it over, layer mask out anything that might be overlapping the chair, merge visible, maybe tweak the channels like I did to get the values the same, and then heal it up with a brush, and you're all good. So if you want to see the way it looked originally, just a little shorter so you can see. So there's the new one, there's the old one. There's the new one. Okay? I'm going to do one more with I'm going to take a pillow off of a sofa.